Hello, my name is Yegor, and today we are going to the province of Lazurit to explore the secrets of ancient monasteries, enjoy nature and views, and of course share with you. In front of us is a view of the magnificent Akhtala Castle and the Holy Mother of God Church. The castle is fortified on one side by pyramidal towers, and on the other side it has two tight walls, further strengthening the castle and making it safe. We are at the four-story tower guarding the entrance to the Akhtala Castle, which has two entrances, southern and northern. We are at the entrance of the four-story castle, which has two gates on two sides and two more hanging gates from the ceiling. There are many mysterious places, and one of them is here. It's a secret passage that during the siege served as a means of communication with the outside world and the way to the river to collect water. But this underground path is also a branching labyrinth, and one branch leads to the mind of the kings of this region, Khachkars dynasty. According to this khachkar, the church was built by Maryam, daughter of Khachkars III of Lazurit, in 1188. At first, the church was apostolic, but when Ivan Prince bought this area, he turned it into a Chalcedonian church. Before addressing the church, let's look at the other secular buildings. This one of the unique medieval baths, it is underground. There are many medieval baths in Armenia, but the only preserved underground baths are in Akhtala and Aruj. The two-story buildings is a royal place, apparently built in the 10th century. We can only assume that it again belongs to Khachkars kingdom period. Later it also served to Zacharias. The place is connected to the four-story tower by underground passages from the lower floor. The church is rich in wall sculptures. Here you can see the Tree of Life, depicting earthly and cosmic speciality. This sculpture, the round stone, deserves a lot of attention. Unfortunately, it is the only preserved one among many similar sculptures. Also, the cross that we see at the top, with which the church is covered on three sides, is the largest wall cross in Armenian architecture. You will not find a bigger one in our architectural monuments. Perhaps the most beautiful part of Akhtala church is the frescoes. They date back to the 13th century, but still retain their appearance and colors. Two colors were used in the frescoes, Vordan Karmir and Lazurit, which is obtained from copper. The other colors were obtained by combining these two. In the 17th century, one of the talented priests of the Armenian Apostolic Church in Iran, Marcus, who was known as a painter of the royal places, put into the third color, bronze, which he discovered from the Armenian soil, and that was he called it Terra Armenia. Behind me is the Castle of Aramyants. Mikhail Aramyants was a famous entrepreneur, oilman, benefactor, and social activist of the 20th century. While traveling in Switzerland, Aramyants saw a beautiful castle, which he liked so much that they recreated a similar one in Akhtala. The first tennis court in Armenia was just in this castle. Aramyants organized meetings and discussions with many prominent figures in Armenia, like opera singer Shalapin, Armenian poet Tovanes Tumanyan, and spiritual and cultural figure Makartish Khrimyan. The castle of Mikhail Aramyants has its own place in the page of Armenian history, as the declaration of the First Republic of Armenia was adopted here. This monastery in the north of Armenia was surrounded by this beautiful nature and was built for over 300 years. The first structure behind me is the Holy Sign Church, built in 976. Haghbat was one of the first two monasteries in Armenia to be included in the UNESCO list as a World Heritage. More than 10 structures, Haghbat can be safely called a city within a city. This important structure of Armenian architecture during the breadth of centuries has many peculiarities. One of them in this large courtyard was built asymmetrically. The large hall inspires expert admiration and surprise, since one side rests on one of the walls and two columns. The second courtyard, built in the 13th century, has been preserved with the same identity. These strong stones were not shaken by many earthquakes and enemy attacks. People know the khachkars are unique in their style and unrepeatable. Among those unique khachkars, there is more unique one because we see the crucified Christ, which is unaccepted in the Armenian church. Haghbat has been developing since its foundation. Interestingly, science and religion rarely clashed in Armenia. On the contrary, it was the church that promoted science, and the library in Haghbat was the largest one in Armenia. There was a special way to store the books. They were put in this halls, and the wine was placed with them in an open state, so that the manuscripts would not fall because of moisture. All over this territory, you will find the gravestones of the princes and spiritual class. This scene opens from one of the mausoleums. Seems like the idea of life and continuation is tangible only here. Like Haghbat, Sanahin had been built over 300 years. This monastery is rich in inscriptions that convey important information about the monastery's history. Although it seems that Sanahin is similar to Haghbat, they are not far from each other from the same period, but still they are different, and each had gone its way in history. Many people associated the name Sanahin with Haghbat, since the monastery is 10 years older than Haghbat. The Holy Mother of God Church was built in 966, and Sanahin is deciphered as this is older than it. There are 5 churches, 2 courtyards, an academy, a library, a bell tower, and a tomb of dynasties, and all this enclosed within the fortress walls. The generous Queen of Armenia built 2 monasteries in the name of her sons. One of them later became the King of Armenia, and we can see them on the wall of the main church in the form of sculptures of the so-called khachkars, meaning sponsor in Greek. In this large area of medieval buildings, the largest narthex is from the 13th century, a unique structure for Armenian architecture. The bell tower is similar to what you have already seen in Haghbat. Look what an interesting medieval auditorium. These stone chairs served their students, and their teachers gave them a lecture going back and forth. The academy attracts special attention, being the oldest one in Armenia. 4 parts of the structure have special symbols. The eastern part, with the master staff, symbolizes the exist sciences, such as mathematics and geometry. The western part is logic, rhetoric, and grammar. The northern part is philosophy and wisdom, and the southern part is spirituality and the different layers of culture. These 2 khachkars also stand out for their beauty. The high mountains and attitude to life taught Armenians to live in harmony with nature. So don't be surprised when you see churches and fortresses on such peaks in Armenia.